The only radio station in the world that makes you say, man, I'm glad to be Latino. CRN. CRN presents.
Hi, this is Didi Garcia Blaze on the brand new Onda show on the Chicano radio network. My guest today is Alex Ruiz. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Didi. Thanks for having me on your show today.
You are currently the lead singer of the Night Mothers, and you're also the guitarist, and
yes.
You're also the lead singer of Robert Rodriguez's Chingon mariachi rock band, and
yes.
You are also a lead singer for Del Castillo.
Yes. Currently the lead singer for all these bands, though I think Del Castillo's taken a hiatus for a few years, and but still very active with them with the band Robert Rodriguez's movie soundtrack band Chingon.
Yeah, Mark and Rick are killer guitarists, and I know who are the other band members of the Night Mothers. You have some pretty sick guitarists, electric guitarists there.
Yeah. Well, originally I have co-writer as well, Jeff Plankenhorn, who's written some of these tracks with me, and also I brought in Albert Bastedo, who's the original bass player for Del Castillo. He's also a great guitar player as well, blues and rock guitar player. And that project was actually recorded 2011, 2012. So, yeah, just still vibing off of that soundtrack as well. We continue to write, and I've got material enough for at least two new albums with the Night Mothers, and of course everything that comes in from Robert's soundtrack work that we do as well is with the Del Castillos.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to be covering Texas during Cinco de Mayo week and Cinco de Mayo day to day, and I also understand that tomorrow's your birthday, or Thursday.
Thursday, May 7th. That's correct. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm a Taurus month and born. So yeah, this is my month. This is my new year.
Happy birthday! Is your month starting off to a great start?
It's been great. I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying where I'm at in my life, and I find myself with family and friends and good company. So I'm doing great.
What are some of the new projects that you're working on in music that you can share with us?
Yeah, I have a trio that I love playing with because it has a Latin flair that's always been my favorite sound, which is flamenco, and due to the fact that the guitar player Jose Manuel Tejeda is enthused with flamenco as well, and he's also classically trained. So I've been writing with him. We have a song together called Una Dama, available on iTunes as well, under Alex Ruiz and featuring Jose Manuel Tejeda. But the sound of the flamenco guitar, which is, not played with a guitar pick, it's actually played with your fingers and your nails, and so that sound, and the rhythm behind the flamenco sound is a whole different, it's a Spanish, European sound, and I love that in the classical guitar when it's played. Anyway, so that's what I'm working on right now. I'm working with him and another guitar player out of South Texas. His name's Jay Cortez, and he also plays traditionally with nails and fingers instead of picks. And so he uses pretty much all four fingers while he's picking. And so these guitar players are pretty amazing and on their own. But I'm currently working with a promoter and agent in Germany to do a tour, a fall tour through Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, and possibly Italy. So late October into November is what I'm working on. I'm really excited about that because it's like bringing in two cultures together, which is Jose Manuel, who's originally from Cuba, but has studied the traditional flamenco guitar. And then you have Jay Cortez, who's down in South Texas, who studied, the classical guitar himself, but also has a very nostalgic, Mexican traditional sound to him. So trying to mend these two guitars together, these sounds, and do some really cool, the movie soundtrack stuff that I've done with Robert, and
sure.
And of course the traditional songs. And so anyway, I'm excited about that.
Good. My one of my favorite flamenco guitarists is Andres Segovia. Do you have a favorite flamenco guitarist?
Oh yeah, well, of course Paco de Lucia was amazing, and he's someone that every guitar player looks at as a god or a demigod. But Tomatito is pretty much the one that's still alive right now, and there's plenty more. I mean, but he's got that flair that you want to hear in that realm of music. And of course he also played for Camarón de la Isla, which is the voice of the Gitano of Andalusia, the coast of Spain there by Gibraltar. And so these guys are pretty phenomenal, guitar players and singers that I still listen to. Right now I'm listening to Duquende, who's up from, he's Catalan, but he's up by Barcelona area. And that voice of his is pretty spectacular. He actually toured with Paco de Lucia for some time, and so I've gotten to get into this flamenco world, and it's a whole nother beast of music, and I love it. So
well, speaking of vocal range, when I was down there visiting Austin recently, Israel Marquez, filmmaker who is doing a documentary on you, and an actor, JT Campos, we were all talking and just talking about how wide your vocal range is and the pitch level that you have. And I'm going to play a little bit of some of your vocal range with Hey Baby Que Pasó when you played at the Doug Song tribute. Yeah,
that was fun. It definitely was.
Do you take voice lessons, Alex?
I've taken voice lessons in the past. Most of it really was just attributed to singing with my father. We would sing like the Beatles and, all the bands that he grew up with. But then I remember when I was a teenager and I heard him sing in a trio with some friends. They were all hanging out, drinking some beers, and all of a sudden these mariachi songs came out, and I was like, what was that, Dad? I never thought you had that in you. And so he sang these songs, and he the next week we went out and bought some albums, and he was showing me some of his favorite mariachi songs, and that was where the pinnacle, where I realized there was more to just rock music than rock and roll, and there was these traditional songs that I just had to learn because, it was a part of my dad and a part of my history. And so, that was where I developed that ear for traditional and bolero and, the Mexican raza songs.
Well, a bunch of your fans, I know you have a lot of music fans. We were so stoked when we saw you on the Dusk Till Dawn TV series, when you became the vampire musician up on stage at the Titty Twister Bar. And, that was just so cool. I hope to see you, and it was just fun watching you.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Robert, being a part of Robert's, I call it a 14-year, friendship, but it's also in the family, and he treats us, so good. So he'll call us up and just say, hey, I got a part for you and in this script, and you guys are going to be the bar band, the Titty Twisters, and and then we're like, oh yeah, because we're big fans of all the cult classics like Dusk Till Dawn and whatever he does has that magic to it. So
and you're like, rock and roll, we're gonna be vampires.
Yeah, exactly. And I was kind of freaking out because when they were putting the mold, of these these fangs on us. My fangs didn't want to come out, and I was like, oh my God. I started freaking out, and you know, everybody had their fingers in my mouth trying to pull this thing out, and I'm like freaking out, going, oh my God, this is real. I'm turning into a vampire. So.
Hey, your fangs didn't want to come out, but your horns did.
Right. I would have had some fun with that, for sure.
That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I still watch. I go on Netflix, and I occasionally will go back and look at that, and I tell my friends about that Alex guy on Chingon. He's a vampire, and Del Castillo, and check this out, you know. Where can my audience find you, Alex, on the net?
Well, you can find, of course, any of the stuff from Chingon on iTunes, and you can find me on iTunes as well, Alex Ruiz. You can look for me on Facebook as Alex Ruiz, lead singer of Chingon and the Night Mothers, on Instagram as the Night Mothers. I mean, I'm out there and available to fans. I talk to people from all over the world every day, at least through, you know, Messenger or Facebook. And, you know, I'm responsive as far as, you know, being an artist. And if you have questions like you want to ask, or like just recently, somebody from Uruguay, who is a fan of the band Chingon, reached out to me and said, hey man, I'm doing this album, and I'd love to have you and Rick Del Castillo involved in it. So, you know, we went ahead and did that with him and collaborated via studio to studio and via the internet. So we didn't have to travel to Uruguay. He didn't have to come to Austin, Texas. And we just went ahead and made that happen. And so, yeah, that kind of stuff is available. And, you know, and also, you know, some Q&A is good. I mean, like I said, I'm approachable as far as, you know, asking me certain things about movies or songs or stuff like that. Yeah.
Alex, who is your favorite American rock musician?
Oh, well, you know, I love Guns N' Roses. I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan.
I was wanting you to say that.
Yeah. Well, when I was 15, I put on, my cousin turned me on to this album, and it was Live Like a Suicide. And it was Guns N' Roses. They had like 5 songs on each side. It was the same song. And so I freaked out. I was like, what is this? This is really rock and roll. Because, you know, we were, I guess during this time, you know, we had Flock of Seagulls and all this other stuff that was going on. Not to say that, you know, that kind of music's not good or whatever, but I wanted rock and roll, and that was rock and roll to me. So.
Well, very good. Thank you for appearing on the Onda show on the Chicano Radio Network. And again, happy birthday, and I hope your entire month is filled with happiness and good positive vibes.
Thank you, Didi. Big gritos from all the way over here in Austin, Texas. And you keep doing what you're doing, because you're representing the raza really, really good, and we hold you in high esteem and tip our hat to you as well.
Thank you. Andale. Thank you.
Andale. Ciao.
The only radio station in the world that makes you say, man, I'm glad to be Latino. CRN.
We are Del Castillo, and you're listening to the Onda Radio on the Chicano Network.
Hi, I'm Didi Garcia Blaze with the Chicano Radio Network. I'm here with Del Castillo. Alex Ruiz is the lead singer, and we have Rick and Mark available with us. And I just have a couple of questions for you. I'm a big fan of your music, number one.
Thank you.
And number two, I'd like to know from you, with regard to the Mexican-American Chicano population growing exponentially, our demographic is just completely exploding. Where do you see Tejano Mexican-American music here in the greater part of the Southwest evolving to? Where do you see it going? And we'll start with you.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because Tejano music is really popular in Japan and in Europe as well. So it's already grown exponentially, even though, I mean, almost more so than it has in America. Which, you know, there are pockets of places that like Norteño, like in Chicago, and in places that you wouldn't really believe. So it's kind of interesting. So it's already expanded, I think. You know, and it will continue to.
Right, and in Japan, the lowrider culture and the Chicano culture
seems to be growing and is more popular there than here in the United States. How about you? Same question with regard to the Mexican-American Chicano.
Where I think it's going? Well, it's just becoming a big fusion of a lot of stuff, I think. And, you know, everybody's kind of growing up with a lot of influences like we did, and just starting to, I see a lot more rock in Espanol going on now, you know. So I see a lot of new sounds of the Latin stuff, which is cool. So it's growing. It's definitely growing sound-wise. You know, I see that a lot around town.
Nice. And Alex?
Well, I want to just bring up what we're doing tonight, and we're part of the Doug Som tribute with Robert Rodriguez and his band Chingon, and so Doug Som was one of the first Texas
tex-mex,
artists that was white, that brought in the Mexican culture, and that had that whole brought in the Beach Boys sound with a little bit of Spanglish, and so he brought in the culture. He embraced the culture, and all his bandmates were all Latino. They were all Mexican Americans, and that whole sound is still there, that little polquita, and you can hear that polka all around the world. So just like Rick was saying, I think it never dies from what it came from, but it starts to expand and multiply into different realms. Like we're doing Hey Baby Que Pasó, but we're doing it almost like a punk rock style, and like Chingon, for instance, has a song. I mean, we all do like all these old standard songs from Mexico, all these mariachi songs like El Rey, but we do that punk rock style. And I remember hearing people go, hey, they're steering away from the traditional side of doing this, and then somebody responded, well, it's because the youth of today don't go there, so they want to hear. They're hearing what's out right now, and this will lead them to that. So
it's like a good bridge point.
Yeah, so that's a cool thing that I see happening with the youth, is that they'll hear something and go, hey, who's this guy Bob Dylan, or who's this guy Jimi Hendrix, or hey, who is Doug Som, and then all of a sudden there you have it. It's just somebody's world just expanded.
And I grew up with rock and roll. Do you see yourselves in the future sort of converting some of, like let's say for instance some Guns N' Roses songs, or some music from 80s hair bands, converting them into some
already.
Yeah.
Do you
Well, we kind of grew up on all that stuff, and I think we subconsciously put that into our music anyway. We're not trying to do it. We just kind of, those are our influences from across the board, 80s, Guns N' Roses to Scorpions to you name it. I mean, we throw that rock, 80s rock, in there whether we want to or not. It just kind of comes out, because it's fun.
Very good.
Please don't leave me this modo. Come on, baby, turn around.
enjoy the programming at CRN, please tell a friend.
It's free.
Thank you for supporting us in bringing unique and quality programming. We're CRN.
Hi, this is Didi Garcia Blaze. You are listening to the brand new Que Onda show, and with us today on the Chicano Radio Network is Michael Ramos, a legendary Texas musician who grew up in a small Texas town. A little bit about Michael. Before he started a group called Charanga Cakewalk, Ramos recorded with the likes of John Mellencamp, the BoDeans, and the Rembrandts. Michael Ramos plays a number of musical instruments, not limited to percussion, trumpet, and playing the synthesizer. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Who did you look up to in music?
Wow. Well, anytime that I heard anything resembling, Latino music on pop radio way back, like even in the 60s when I was a little kid, when we'd hear Jose Feliciano singing in Spanish, we were like, wow, and then, I remember hearing Paul Simon singing this song, Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard, and even though the song was in English, the groove was like this salsa Latino groove, and actually, years later, I had an opportunity to work with Paul Simon, and I asked him about that song, and he said that a lot of Latino people said the same thing. They couldn't believe they were hearing that on the radio. I looked up to him. I looked up mainly to any artist. Of course, the Beatles, Stevie Wonder, like I said, Jose Feliciano, just so many, Celia Cruz. Just so many different Latin artists that I looked up to, and in my career, I've just sort of always just melded all those things together. And there was, when I was still living in Houston, there was a gentleman there that had a band. He was older, very successful Mexican musician, and he said something to me that has always stuck with me. He said, like Latinos can play like anybody. They can play like Anglo musicians, African American musicians, but African American musicians and Anglo musicians can't play like Latinos, meaning that we're pretty versatile just by default,
Well, our Mexican American Chicano population is the largest ethnic group within the entire Hispanic population pie. Mm-hmm. We're approximately 70% of the 100. Cubanos are only 3% approximately, and Puerto Ricans are 9%. So Mexican American Chicanos are the big bulk of it.
You'd never know that.
Right, right.
At least I didn't.
And so that is the purpose of the Chicano Radio Network, to sort of coalesce and inspire each other to promote entertainers and musicians. Do you have any words of wisdom for the continued next generation of Chicano movement activists, people who are about coalescing?
One thing I could say is just to embrace your roots. You're never going to outrun your roots or your hereditary DNA, and you're born with that rhythm. You're born with that soul that your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents gave you. And so instead of trying to resist it at any point in your life, you should just always embrace it and pull it in, and not only embrace it, take it and run with it. For years, growing up, I grew up at a time when it was really hard to be Chicano here in Texas. It was very hard, and people would just say some really awful things, and and at times when you're a kid growing up, you just want to fit in with your peers, and it wasn't until I just really embraced it that really my life changed and took off. And that is the best piece of advice I think I would give any Mexican kid out there. Is just embrace your roots, embrace the love.
Very good. Wow, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing a couple minutes with the Chicano Radio Network.
My pleasure. I hope to do it
live.
again.
Yep, we're still live and well, and we're going to be following you.
Oh, great. I hope so. Very nice to meet you.
You too.
Something about you, baby, drives me crazy. Something about CRN, Chicano Radio Network for life.
If you enjoy the programming at CRN, please tell a friend. It's free. Thank you for supporting us in bringing unique and quality programming. We're CRN.
My name is Leon Rodriguez. I'm a musician, composer, and a filmmaker. And I'm a retired semiconductor engineer. And a lot of other things that I'd have to take the fifth to admit.
I want to thank you for coming on to the Que Onda show. We're in the process of rebranding the Chicano movement. A lot of people think that the Chicano movement is dead, but people like myself, a lot of people believe that it's not, and we want to revive it, and that's why I want you here.
It's nowhere near dead. As a matter of fact, when I see Chicanos drifting over to the right, it alarms me to no end, because that is not where we're supposed to be.
Right.
You know, and I think that we have to recognize our power. The truth of it is that today, in today's reality in the United States of America, we are the largest minority. And equivocably, we are not represented in either entertainment, politics, business, you name it. Select a genre and find the proportion that is equitable to our numbers. You know, we have to realize our power. We have to embrace our power, and we have to select leaders and not quibble amongst ourselves. And to our Cuban friends, I would say it's time to forgive President Kennedy and come back to the family. That's what I would say. At any rate, that's my bit.
Well, thank you for coming on to the Que Onda show on the Chicano Radio Network.
You're quite welcome.
And I want you here because you're part of history. You're part of Austin history. You just shared a Nelson story, and I want to preserve the history so that it could last forever, you know, the recording. Are there any, what's your favorite Austin Chicano Tejano story that you could leave with us, that you want the future Chicano movement to remember?
You know, when I was young, you know, I'm a guitarist, and I grew up understanding clearly that stardom was not possible for me. Not possible for me. Consequently, I became an audio engineer, and I was road manager for the Fabulous Thunderbirds. I was sound engineer for Sleep at the Wheel, Delbert Clinton. The list is long. You know, like I said, from ABBA to Zappa, both here in Los Angeles, in New York, and all through Europe, London and Paris, and you know, world-class engineer. But I was always a guitarist, always. And only now in my 60s am I now deciding that once I'm pulling in my Social Security, you know, and saying, you know, fuck it. I'm going to play guitar and make myself happy. And of course, that's what I'm doing now in Austin. But I want to say that prejudice in Texas is a very unique kind of thing, and it's a sensitive thing, because most of the dear friends that we have around us don't understand prejudice. They don't understand that they are prejudiced, you know, because it's so ingrained. Now, the reality of Texas is this: we were a republic. We were our own country that could not have become a country had it not been for Colonel Seguin and a lot of other guys, you know, that said, I've listened to these Tejanos. I've listened to them, and what they say makes sense. let's trust them. Let's trust them. And we fought with them. And we took Texas away from Mexico for them, only to have our land taken from us. Okay?
Right.
So I think that there's this heavy thing that sort of that the state has to carry, and they bury it. They bury it. They shuffle it under the carpet. We have to endure it. I had to go a lifetime without pursuing my first passion, which is the guitar. But my friends loved me enough. Sleep at the Wheel, Joe Ely, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, the Vaughn Brothers, Arlen Studios, Willie Nelson family, to say we're going to take this guy's talent, we're going to do something with it, because it's what we can do. So it's not a blanket thing. And individually, people at their core are good. And the weight falls on us to be able to make the best of that and figure out how to alleviate what needs to be repaired.
Right. Very good. Yes.
Anyway, that's how I see it.
Well,
I'm just a retired guitar player.
Well, I wish you the best in your guitar endeavors. And as far as what you said about stardom, I'm not so sure that you should let go of that dream. I mean, there's always a possibility that the next generation and myself can...
I have lived alongside stars my entire life, and for me, that's enough.
But you are a star, to me. So, to
Thank
people
you.
like
God
me,
bless you. God bless you.
And I mean, that's a heartfelt, because of what you've done, number one, your accomplishments. You have a solid standing on history here in Texas. I was born in Texas. And so I look up to people like you. I listen to people like you.
Oh, good for you.
And so we want to continue to preserve the Chicano movement. And
we are one.
And that's right. And Chicano power. So thank you very much for appearing on the Que Onda show on the Chicano Radio Network Live.
Well, you have my support and my heart. And God bless you.
Thank you.
In your endeavors.
Thank you very much.
My name is Leon Rodriguez, and we're listening to the Que Onda radio show.
If you enjoy the programming at CRN, please tell a friend. It's free. Thank you for supporting us in bringing unique and quality programming. We're CRN.
This is Didi Garcia Blaze on the brand new Que Onda show, and with me is JT Campos out of Austin, Texas. He's an actor and a stuntman who's performed in several movies and television shows, as well as commercials. Welcome to the show, JT. How are you doing?
I am doing great. It's so good to be back on your show with your energy. Always so cheery and alive. That's what I love about it. Alive.
Well,
it's so good to hear you.
Yeah, it's good to hear you too. You're my go-to person in Austin as far as the pulse in Austin. And
boom, boom.
I remember having a conversation with you earlier about the Pachanga Festival that's coming up in Austin, Texas. Tell us what that's all about. I know you said that there were Mexican-American artists and so forth.
Yeah, we got the Pachanga Fest. Wow, I was going to talk about the ACL lineup, but we can go with the Pachanga Fest. We can go with the Pachanga Fest. Well, the Pachanga Fest is put on by AJ Vallejo and the Grupo Vallejo, the brothers and whatnot.
Okay.
Pachanga, if you don't know what Pachanga means, Pachanga's like a big old party, right? It's just a big old party, and from what I gather, it's just another reason to have a good time.
Right. Do they have conjunto artists, and I mean, what kind of Latino artists, Chicano artists perform there? Is it Latin festival based?
It's the seventh edition maybe, and we're gearing up for it. It's like right around the corner. This takes place. What are we today? We're the 6th. Oh, this takes place on the 10th. Wow, you got me all geared up already. I'm like, this takes place on the 10th. May 10th here at Fiesta Gardens in Austin, Texas. It's Latin Music Festival. That's pretty much what it is. It's just a Latin music festival. That's why it's called Pachanga Fest. AJ Vallejo and the brothers. It's 1, 2, 3. I think this is the 7th edition, man. Yeah, it's like the 7th year or something like that. And we're gonna have talent from LA. They come from everywhere, actually. Just like the best lineups. I think we're gonna have El Gran Silencio might be here, and a Mexican female rapper. Oh, what was I hearing through the grapevine? You see, Nina Dios, if I'm not mistaken, or was that?
The other event that's coming up in Austin that you...
The other event that we've got is the ACL 2015 lineup. And ACL, that's a nice big lineup. You got everybody from, you've got bands from, I know Billy Idol's coming. I'm trying to get it in my head what I remember reading. The Foo Fighters are coming, Drake's coming. We've got Milo Green, Moon Taxi. You got my good friend Gary Clark Jr. from here in Austin. If you don't know who Gary
do.
And yeah, that good friend of mine, man.
Isn't he the blues? The blues.
Oh, he's the blues guy. Yes. You know what I'm talking about right there. You have Alabama Steaks. I think we have a Monsters and Men. We've got Sons of Bill, the Surf. Obviously, these are all bands I want to see because I'm remembering their names. Dwight Yoakam's going to be here. Shaky Graves, another Alejandro. That's Alejandro Garcia right there, man. Calls himself Shaky Graves. This boy is like, the one-man band. Shaky Graves. So many beautiful lineups coming, and it's 2 weekends, actually, ACL. That's the beautiful thing about it that many people don't know. You got October, boom, 1 weekend takes place, and you got all these people that I just named, and then the very next weekend, you got pretty much the same lineup: Foo Fighters, Drake, The Strokes, weekend, and then you're gonna have other big names that'll just pop in. And Austin, Texas, being the music capital of the world, it's always one festival or another right around the corner, And some of these guys, they just they know about the story I'm working on, and I'm still writing the story of Esteban Jordan, the legendary accordion player, who played with Flaco Jimenez alongside him, jamming out, doing their thing. Conjunto norteño, Tejano music, it's all on the frontera right here on the border, and Austin has just an array of music from all sorts, from the jazz to the blues to the country to the bluegrass. You got your Tejanos. I saw some Brazilian, Colombiano music in this one club just the other day, and salsa, merengue, rock, pop, y todo lo que uno quiere aquí in Austin, you'll find it.
Well, speaking of Flaco Jimenez, when I was down there visiting Austin, I heard that he broke his hip. What's the story on Flaco? Is he getting better?
Flaco is acting beautifully, as I understand it. He had emergency hip replacement, got that done. Then he was up and walking. And yes, recovery is going to take some time, of course. I know that they canceled the rest of the show for the whole year because Flaco wasn't going to be there, and he didn't get to make it for the tribute of Doug Sham out here with the rest of the guys because of hip breaking. And the year before that, he had to go in and take care of his back. Which, I get it. It's the accordion. It's heavy. And that he's just an amazing artist, But yes, he's doing great out there in San Antonio, recovering beautifully, as I understand it. And may he continue to recover because, nobody plays like Flaco.
Good. Speaking of the Austin vibe, is there anything with regard to public information that you can share with our listener with regard to new film, new projects, new ideas that are going on down there?
I like the way you worded that. Yes, in regards to film, I do sign the NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements. Music's one thing to talk about, and with music being talked about, takes me to beautifully into the movies with Robert Rodriguez. As we all know, that's Mr. AKA Chingon, who has his own band and composes his own music score for his movies. He's working on From Dusk Till Dawn Season 2. That's taking place right now.
Nice.
It's all over Austin. They're filming this. They need extras. Hey, if you wanted to work on a movie and you wanted to be an extra for no other, who else other than Mr. Rodriguez, I'd say submit your information, not to me and not to Onda radio station, but to Third Coast Casting. That's Beth Sepko out here in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Send a picture, measurements, send a headshot, picture, full body frame. If you're here in Texas and close by, yes, by all means, come on out and submit and be a part of like a movie making magic experience. You're not going to find anywhere else better than a Robert Rodriguez movie set to get like the whole scoop on movie making magic 101. That's the man, the myth, the legend. Before him there were none, and after him there will be no more. I'm serious. It sounds like boom.
JT, okay, so again, let me just kind of repeat what you said. If somebody's interested in being an actor on a Robert Rodriguez or, Dusk Till Dawn, the television series, they go through what? I mean, where do they submit their information?
Third Coast Casting. That's Beth Sepko's agency out here in Austin, Texas. Beth Sepko is known for Friday Night Lights and Sin City, Sin City 2, Machete Kills, Spy Kids 1, 2, and 3. This woman's done a lot. She's an amazing woman. She's great. And that's just for anybody that's ever thought about maybe wanting to be in the movie, finding out what it's like to be in a movie. Start from the bottom on up. Nowhere better than on a Robert Rodriguez movie set to understand what it is to making the movie magic that you see on the silver screen or in the boob tube at home. Not only that, as I understand it, here's part of can't really say, not too sure. I'm just going to say, as I heard through a grapevine somewhere, once From Dusk Till Dawn Season 2 is done, Mr. I don't know, the writer, Alvaro Rodriguez, may be doing something with John Ridley, the writer of American Crime, for Season 2. I don't know how true that is. Like I said, through a grapevine, but I do know that Alvaro keeps in beautiful communication with John Ridley. I do know that much.
Now, Alvaro's the writer, isn't he, for the television series?
Yeah, he's a great guy, too. I love the imagination and his creative, just that creative energy he's got. You see it in his eyes. He's a beautiful man. I love that man.
Really
I don't know if you're listening. I'm waiting for the write-in.
I really think that's nice of you to, and very helpful information for you to explain to others how they could, audition.
Well, it's a beautiful big industry, and you know what? I see it growing so much more. You see Mexicanos, just people in general, there's been an awakening that's taken place somewhere, and people are realizing that to really be happy, you must follow your dreams. Don't short yourself in living. And there is a lot of movies coming to town. We have Mike Judge. Mike Judge is the creator of Beavis and Butthead and Idiocracy. I heard something. He may be working on something here real soon. Mr. Richard Linklater, Boyhood.
I miss Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. Cool. All right, JD, that's cool. Yeah.
I do. I don't know if you remember. I mean, you and I are both in that age group, but they used to play the Breaking the Law Judas Priest song all the time.
All the time. I love those guys. Mike Judge is a great guy. I got to work on Idiocracy years ago. That was a beautiful movie. Richard Linklater, working on something here soon. And then I think Robert Rodriguez, once he's done with Dusk Till Dawn, probably goes into production with Fire and Ice, again through the grapevine next year. And a lot of other great artists here in Texas, centrally and south of the border, are working on some projects, documentaries. We've got voiceover growing nicely with the animation that takes place here in Austin, Texas. Animation, voiceover work. It's like the best voice. It's the best thing to do here in the industry. Voiceover work is an actor or just, it's the perfect job. I can go into a booth and lay down some tracks, and as I just did this in Butthead, that's just a small example of voiceover work, and I know that that's growing because I've been doing a lot of voiceover work here lately, and very thankful and blessed for it.
Well, thank you very much for giving us the Austin City, Texas vibe, and
that's just peeking through the keyhole, barely looking into Austin, Texas. I say if anybody's interested in just dancing or getting involved in film, yes, Austin, Texas is a nice little place to do it. I invite anybody that's never been to Austin, please come on out, grab the feel, give someone a hug, and smile everywhere you go. You're sure to just fit right in.
Thank you, JT. Thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you again on the Que Onda show.
Que Onda, Raza. Thank you very much for your time. Dee Dee Blaze, just keep burning it up wherever you're at, girl. I love you. Thank you very much.
If you enjoy the programming at CRN, please tell a friend. It's free. Thank you for supporting us in bringing unique and quality programming. We're CRN.